Hey, what's up, my heroes? This is Greg with How to Build Games. I am going to work on my game to feed an army today. Thanks for dropping by and tuning in. I hope you've caught the previous streams. I'm not going to recap kind of what I'm doing and why I'm doing it and all that. But just know that as part of Devtober, I am working on my game called To Feed an Army. It's still very rough, very much programmer art, maybe not even programmer art stage, and but it's getting there. I think it's an interesting idea. The basic idea is it's going to be kind of a Farmville clicker type thing meets RPG, where you will grow the crops and later the weapons and the magic things to feed and supply an army, send them out, see what they come back with, stuff like that. That's the basic idea. If you haven't watched the previous videos, those are available. This is number 4. I'm not making a video every day, but I'm trying to get at least 2 or 3 a week. I'm also doing this to kind of reboot my channel. I'm going to be doing some new game development tutorials soon. If you're just wanting to learn how to do game development, I am going to be... I've got some tutorials on my channel now, but they're older. I'm going to be making some new ones soon. So, again, thanks for joining in. I'm going to go ahead and switch on over to the software. And let's start doing some stuff in Unity. Minimize that. I won't be able to see chat comments right now, but I will get back to them in a bit. I'll check on them. So this is the basic idea. If I hit play, it fires up auto clicker type thing where I click that, and then after a second I get a point, also known as a coin. If I get enough of them, I can buy the little auto clicker button here or here. I've got several different things. Although I duplicated all these quickly, they don't work as well as they should. I've got a blocker. When it's kind of highlighted, it's blocked. You can't do anything else on there. That's the basic idea. I did buy, there was some stuff in a recent Humble Bundle that was some different icons and things like that that I think are going to be useful. So I went ahead and purchased that package. I'm going to be implementing some of those graphics so that this doesn't continue to look really terribly bad. Today, though, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on instantiating these things. Now, if you're not familiar with that, instantiating just means to kind of basically create another version of a game object or a prefab. The cool thing you can do, though, is that while this object that I set up by hand in the editor that has all these different things set up, if you make a prefab out of it, most of this refers to these individual objects that are children of this. The cool thing about this, if you make a prefab out of this, all these will continue to point to the objects that are also part of the prefab. So when I instantiate this, I don't have to fill all this in. I don't have to tie everything back together and all that. Now some of these sprite text you might not be familiar with. That's because that's an old system called EasyGUI that I was using, that I've used a long time. Before Unity had a good UI system, there was EasyGUI, and that's what I used. I am going to be changing this out to some other things, but I need to look into, the canvas stuff typically is going to be one-dimensional, and you've kind of got your canvas and your UI elements. I'm not sure the best way to attach some of these things to things in a 3D scene. If I need to use TextMesh Pro, so that each of these objects, as they're moved back, right now, everything in the scene is orthographic. So all of the, look at my scene stuff. Everything's orthographic, which is why these are all perfect squares. There's no perspective. I've changed that to perspective. That's what you actually would see. And then these different items, get smaller and larger and things like that. That's not what I want. Well, that's what I want for the moment. But I'm not sure if we had... let's say we duplicated all these and moved them back and then duplicated them again and moved them back again and moved them back again. I'm not quite sure how to line up UI objects with these different rows of things just because I haven't looked into it. I'm sure there's a solution. I'm not sure if it's Canvas in the Unity GUI, because I'm still kind of learning the ropes of that. Even though I've used it for a couple of years, I've been transitioning from Easy GUI into the Unity Canvas stuff. But I think that I'm sure there's a way. I just haven't looked into it yet. I'm going to do that in the next day or two as well, so that these objects can be in three-dimensional space. I haven't quite decided if this is going to be a 3D or 2D game. Probably going to be 3D, I think, just because I'm more comfortable there and I don't have an artist. And it's easier for me to work in 3D. I can do a little bit of stuff there. I can get existing models and build things in 3D and make them work, but I'm just not sure. We'll see. I'll keep you apprised. So anyway, the main thing I want to do today is start to create these things, and a lot of what's here is already set up. You can see these all, they have X's underneath, which is just a placeholder text for the countdown and some of the different things. They've already got the $sign. I did determine that the cost here and stuff like that is not automatically set up. This auto clicker cost is what correlates to that number. It should be setting that up automatically, but it's not. And also, if you're just joining, I wrote this code 3, 4, 5 years ago, so it's not real fresh in my memory, and I've learned a lot since then. So that's why I thought this would be an interesting project to kind of take and move forward in Devtober with. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to select my scene, hit Control D. That will duplicate the block and let me see right there. There's the duplicated one. I'm going to hit F2 on my Windows computer to rename. Of course, you can also just click once to rename. I use hotkeys. If you're going to be professional, if you're going to use this stuff on a daily basis, learn the hotkeys. Spend the time, no matter what it is. If that's Unity or Photoshop or Word, and some of them are always going to be the same. Copy and paste and cut. Those are going to be the same most of the time. Thank you, Bill Gates, I guess, because Windows has been doing that since 3.1, I think. Control C or Command C on the Mac, Control V, Control X, copy, paste, cut. Those are the same, but in whatever program that you use, Control J to duplicate a layer in Photoshop, and sometimes it's Shifty to duplicate this thing in that program over there in Blender or whatever. But learn the hotkeys. That's definitely a pro tip. So now that I've duplicated my scene, and the reason I do that is so that I can kind of go back through, I can see some of the progress. Now, as I go all the way back through, get back to the very first things that I did. These didn't have the little auto clickers. That's when I started to add those in. All the scripts are not necessarily going to work because over time I add more things in, but still it gives me kind of a good place, and I have been saved more than once by having extra copies of a scene. If you do everything in, main scene or whatever it's called, main level, if that level gets corrupted, especially if that level gets corrupted and you don't realize it's gotten corrupted, you can find yourself in a very, very, very bad spot. So I like to duplicate my scene. These things take up almost no space on the disk most of the time because it's just references to all the different objects and everything. Scenes are very inexpensive to duplicate, keep track of. I've got 8 here. Eventually I'll make a folder called archive or old scenes or something like that and move most of those in there. And I would keep number 8 out in this case and put number 1 through 7 into that archive scenes folder. It's not taking up so much space for me to do that yet, so I'm not worried about that. Let's close up the Easy GUI. But now that I've got this, I want to take one of these first auto clickers and start cleaning this stuff up. So the buyable items, I went through that in the last video, and that just kind of shows some different units, some food units, some attack units, initialized game units. I'm probably going to move buyable items to that and call that game unit manager. And again, I'm using F2 on Windows, which is the standard Windows hotkey to rename a file. That does not work on the Mac. If there's a hotkey to rename things in the Mac, I don't know what it is. I worked on a Mac daily for a while. Never found one anyway. But like I said, you can always click and rename that. So just doing a little bit of cleanup. I'm going to move. So I've got my game manager, clicker MCP. I've got player coins. That's this, thing up here that says here's how many coins we have. There's the word coins, and there's the actual number. There's the scene stuff, the camera, the directional light. Really don't need a directional light in here, but I guess everything's kind of dark without it. I'm going to leave it in there for now. That probably won't be in the final version, almost certainly. But again, still figuring out if I want 2D and 3D and all that. But I'm going to move the game unit manager up here just to kind of be in the general vicinity of the other stuff. And then I'm going to take all these. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to make an empty game object called old prefabs. I'm going to change the coordinates to 0, 0, 0, just because that's kind of a good idea. As I click on these different objects, this object up here should not have a world location way down there, but it does. So I'm going to fix some of those things. But for now, I'm going to take all that. I'm going to move it there so that I can take that whole thing and turn it off. And I'll probably move it up here. Player coins. So now I've kind of got the two key things I'm trying to work with, the coins and this prefab up here. First thing I want to do is I want to move this to be in here. Even though this is still a temporary thing that's not hanging around, I still want to clean it up. An easy way to do that, I'm going to click the top one, shift click the bottom one. I'm going to very carefully move it out so that it all moves to the root. I'm going to pick that. I'm going to go 0, 0, 0. I'm going to pick these things. I'm going to move them down over at least closer. Yep, not perfect, but closer. So I'm going to undo, going to move things over a little bit more. There are easier and better ways to do this, but this works for the moment. Quick and ugly, but that still gets me much, much, much closer to what I wanted to do. A better way to do that would be to kind of nest some of these items, move the items individually, and resize them so everything would be exactly perfect, but it's okay. It's still better than it was. I can still pick the object, see roughly where it is, move that object around. I'm not grabbing a transform handle over here to move an object up there, which is never really what you want to be doing. So anyway, now that I've got that, I hate to do a lot of work because this whole thing is going away probably sooner than later, but double click that, go over here, double check this to make sure that is switching. It looks like it is. So my button click object is here. What I need to know is I've got the auto clicker cost blocker and the cost. It looks like that is set up for text auto clicker cost. Text auto clicker cost. Okay. So the reason that's gray is because it is not being used anywhere. If I grab that, if I search for it, it is not being used. So there's part of the problem. So in this start initialization stuff, I'm going to go ahead and set that up. I'm going to set that to be basically the same thing as up here, except it's going to be auto clicker cost. So now I should be able to take that, give that a, come on, Unity's hanging up on me. Delete the comment there, the text. I don't like to leave them completely blank. You'll see the X over there, just a period. Just in my experience, it's a lot easier to troubleshoot things and get to them and find them. See, I can click on that X, I can click on that. If that's completely empty, it's harder to find. It can be harder to troubleshoot. If nothing is coming out, if there's no content being changed here, this will remain a period. If it's blank, well, I don't know if the content I'm sending was blank, or if this is blank, or something didn't work. But if this is still a period and that's still an X, when I hit play, I know something didn't go right. So just little tips like that can help you along the way, and there you go. It worked. So I'm going to try taking that, duplicating that, and let's say this one, this has a score value of 4, purchase value of 4, auto clicker cost of 50, cooldown time 3, and let's hit play and see if that works. So I've got the 1, I've got the 4 and the 3. That's got the 25, that's got the 50. There we go. And that unlocks. And there you go. So now, what I'm doing here is I'm basically just making sure that everything is working like it ought to. It's much easier to test these things manually before you start going nuts and making tons and tons and tons of things. Now my auto clicker button lit up. Again, these will have proper, graphics that communicate, hey, this is here, it's not awake yet. But yeah, everything looks like it's working right. So now I'm probably ready to start instantiating these. But unfortunately, that will probably have to wait till tomorrow. And I'm kind of torn on these as to whether or not, and now that's got an auto clicker going as well. I'm really torn as to whether or not I should do a lot of content on these and kind of show the whole process, or if people are just interested in kind of seeing bits and pieces and like, hey, I worked on it, here's the update. And I think that's what a lot of people are doing with Devtober. Hey, here's a 30-second update of what I did yesterday. To me, that's not as interesting. I'd like to see what someone's doing, why they're doing it, the thought process. That's really what I want the How to Build Games channel to be about. Again, there's a lot of good YouTube channels out there, like Bracky's. There's places like CG Cookie that have lots of good tutorials if you're trying to learn a specific thing. I want to be a little bit broader and help you understand the mindset, help you understand why you want to do this thing in this way, in this scenario, but you might want to do it somewhere different for a different scenario. So some of these things I'm probably going to do offline, because I just don't think they'll be terribly interesting. Me ripping out the whole UI system and rewriting the whole UI system. If I do that in streams, I could stream it. It's not going to be interesting, and it'll be lots of broken errors and stuff until I get things fixed. I'm probably not going to stream all that. I may record all of it and do a time lapse, or just throw it up as kind of here's a Devtober stream 4.5 extra stuff where I swap out the UI system. That's a thought. But let me know. Give me your feedback. Greg@howtobuildgames.com is my email if you want to email me. Happy to hear from you. Let me know where you're at on your game development journey. Are you just starting out? What are you looking for out of another game development channel? I've been doing apps and games with Unity for 10 years. and apps in the App Store for 10 years. I've been programming professionally for 25. That's a lot more experience than a lot of the people that are out there making tutorials have, just to be honest. And I'm certainly not saying I'm the best guy out there. I certainly don't know it all. I'm not the best at all the things, but I do know what I know pretty well. And I've been doing it a while. There's a lot of experience that only comes from doing something for years and years at a time. You just can't get that experience anywhere else. There are certainly other people that are, more up to date on some of the newer features. If you're looking for HDRP stuff, I'm not your guy. Probably not gonna be, unless it's a project that I need it for or a client needs it for, because I do freelance stuff. I'm probably not going to dig into it. I'd love to dig into HDRP. I don't see how it would fit in anything I'm doing right now. But again, there's a lot of good YouTube channels out there. And there's the good news. There's a lot of good YouTube channels out there. Hopefully this will be one. There's others. Hopefully, I think I'm going to bring something different than you'll find on the other channels. So make sure to like the video, subscribe. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for saying hi. Please let me know if you have any questions, and we'll see you tomorrow.